Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar on expense reimbursement tool that we're going to build with NITRO Studio here and show you some features of NITRO Studio. We'll get started in a moment. First, I want to mention that we have a question box. And so if you have any questions during the webinar, you can put them into the question box, and James, who's assisting me, will try and answer the questions during the webinar. If not, we'll get to them after. Anyways, I'm Scott Restivo. I founded this company 22 years ago. It's been going strong. We've been doing a lot of SharePoint and Office 365 development and Microsoft applications, building these business applications for the Microsoft environment for many years now. And our latest focus is on the SharePoint and Office 365 world. And it's just really fun, really cool stuff to do. It's just a lot of interesting ways you can use these platforms. You know, a lot of people get SharePoint or Office 365 or what they call Microsoft 365 and Teams, and it has a lot of promise. And the question is, what do you do with it? How do you use it really for business process automation? How do you use it to bring real value to your organization? And that's kind of the crux of what we've been doing for the last 20 some odd years. And you know, I started quite a ways before that in the 90s, working in the business process world. And then this company, it's grown quite a bit. We're doing quite nicely now. A lot of interest in what we're doing in the SharePoint world and in the Office 365 world here. So we'll get going showing you. This is one webinar. I'm just kind of chill on this webinar. I just want to show you what's going on. I'm not going to go through a bunch of PowerPoints or anything like that. So we're just going to go straight into the demo. And let's just check the audio, make sure audio is good here and everything's happening. Somebody just sent me a message. Let's see what it says here. Is it?
Oh, yeah, no. I hear just fine.
Okay, yeah, it was a message about something else entirely. Just at the beginning of a webinar, we want to make sure everybody can hear us and everything's going well. Again, I'm Scott Restivo, and I'm with Crow Canyon Software. Many of you know us, some of you don't, but I'd like to introduce the company. We are based in California. That's where I am. We have an office in Rhode Island, and we have a development team to help us out in India, and we have customers all over the world. We are very worldwide right now. We're doing a lot in military, government, education, nonprofits, manufacturing, a lot of just every kind of industry, you could say, all over the world, because people are really looking to use Microsoft Office, Teams, and SharePoint for something more, like I said, than just basic out-of-the-box functionality. So we put together this series of 3 webinars for this summer. You know, we had one last month on leave request. This month, today, actually, is expense reimbursements, and then we'll do something on project and task management. These are part of the products we have. We have a whole bunch of applications here that we can that we provide out of the box, ready to go, and they can be easily customized. All of them run on our NITRO Studio. NITRO Studio is a platform we developed because we were using, you know, of course, the standard SharePoint out of the box stuff way back and Office 365 stuff. And we found it insufficient, not adequate to building true business process applications. So we developed our own set of tools, web parts and apps and everything. It's a platform that you can build business process automation application, really functionality inside your organization that really gets the job done. Right now, we have a lot of people moving off InfoPath to NITRO Studio. That was just last week. InfoPath with mainstream support was ended. Last for InfoPath Forms 2013 ended last week, July 13th. A lot of people have started that move off of InfoPath to NITRO Studio. And people using Access Forms, a Lotus Notes, or whatever are moving off. And of course, paper and spreadsheets is another thing they're moving off of. So we have a lot of information on all that. So it's we call NITRO Studio the practical alternative. You know, we think it is, in our opinion, a lot better than the Power Platform that comes with Microsoft Office 365. We have more functionality, it's easier to use, it's a more comprehensive tool. Also, Microsoft Power Platform is not available on the SharePoint on-premises, so we have a lot of work going on in there, as well as in Office 365. Also, we have integration with Teams, and we're working on bots that bring to functionality to your organization. And the other higher end stuff like Nintex or whatever costs a lot of money, and people are coming to us saying, look, we don't want to keep paying that price. NITRO has nearly the same functionality, but for a much better price point. And we have known for our really good support also. So, if you're interested, yeah, really interested, if you could engage with us and see what what you find out too about Crow Canyon and how we can help you out. So rather than have a bunch of PowerPoints and all that, I decided just go right into the expense. That's what we came here for. So it's an expense report, expense reimbursement, whatever you call it. Now, the idea of this is that every organization, yours, whatever, are different on how they do things. I mean, certain basics and functionality of expense reports, but there's a lot of variation according to what kind of systems you have in place or what you're trying to implement at your organization. So NITRO Studio makes it incredibly easy to modify and adapt to whatever process you need doing there. So I'm going to show you some of that, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been working on this one. I just started it a couple of days ago just to kind of put together for this webinar. And it's been a lot of fun playing around with NITRO Studio to get it where we want it to be and to be able to show you something really, hopefully interesting and exciting and fun. It's a summer breeze, we call it. Easy to build applications kind of thing. All right, so what we're doing now is, this is a basic SharePoint list. Let me give the context here. We're in a SharePoint site collection. This is on Office 365. There's a site called Trial 3, and I'm in the site called EXP1, Expense Report 1. You can name it whatever you want. So it's an expense report site. This is a site in SharePoint in Office 365. Now, it could just as well be in SharePoint 2013, 2016, or 2019. Functionality is nearly the same, but this is in Office 365, Microsoft 365, if you want to call it that. And there's a list. There's two lists. There's reports and items right here. Expense reports, expense items. Expense reports is what contains what I call the metadata, but who's requesting it and what the purpose of the expense is. And items are the individual items that are the expenditures. So here we have a few going on already. And before I dig into that, I want to point out that what's underlying the functionality, making this expense report system work here, is our NITRO Studio. So you get the NITRO Studio NITRO apps, and you'll end up into our NITRO Studio apps. And you'll see that there's all this NITRO Studio under the covers. Like, let's lift up the hood, all right? Look at the engine here. So we're lifting up the hood, looking at the engine, and this is NITRO Studio. It's installed into your site collection and activated whatever number of sites you want or have a license for. So you could have multiple sites in a site collection or multiple site collections in your tenant or farm, whatever you want to do, and then each one will have its set of NITRO Studio components activated in it. And then you have all these capabilities now, all this power given to you to build these kind of forms and workflows and actions and printing and just a really, really wide variety of capabilities that we've put together over the years as we've built our applications and got feedback from our customers. We found that there's just a tremendous amount of capability we could build in here, and we keep improving and enhancing, and we play with this all day long. So it's fun, and a lot of people who get into it really enjoy the capabilities and the kind of creativity they can do with this kind of program. So we have forms, workflows, we have reports, portals, advanced approval systems, branding, so you can change the look. Custom actions are really good. Person press a button and it automates the whole process. That's what custom actions are all about. We have email and text synchronization, so you can send in emails. Also now we have SMS texting, so you can text to somebody like, hey, we got your ticket, or you need to approve this, or whatever. We can, many other features here. There's like the email manager, how the emails are sent back and forth and whether they're recorded in the history of the ticket or whatever. ID columns to set up unique titles for each form that comes in. Linked items, list formatting, roll up, list search, list views, print manager, tiles and dials. And then if you're on Office 365, we add in AI services like natural language processing, bots, modern UI web parts, and full Teams integration. That's the point I want to make, is that we do have full Teams integration, and we have bots running in Teams. We can create channels. We can post adaptive cards. I won't go into that too much in this webinar. I'll keep it kind of more on a simpler level for that reason, but that is something I want to make a note that if you're looking to use Teams more aggressively, more function, then we can help you out with that for sure. So underlying this, believe it or not, is that whole NITRO Studio. So what happens is when you open up one of these items, the form comes up is not the standard SharePoint form at all. It's the NITRO form that's been created in order to have to contain the information you want to have here. So we have this expense report. it has these are the fields or columns on the list of expense report list. It's like the metadata. What's about somebody took a trip to New York. What was the purpose? What's a SharePoint Saturday? Here's the request here information, automatically filled in by our system in the NITRO form. It automatically fills that in from the Active Directory or the user profile, depending on what's your choice. Notice it fills in the manager. That's important because that's part of the approval process. And also fills in a phone number. And if this is a cell phone number, you can use that cell phone number for SMS texting. Use the email address, of course, for emails. And then you have this way to communicate back and forth with the requester. Then the person will put in individual repeating rows, you can call this, or associated items, different names, linked items, people call these, but there's different, each item of this New York City trip is listed right here, and they are in the expense items list, but because they're associated with this particular expense report, they're pulled in and shown in this list right here. And then when you have it there, you can edit it or delete it if you need it. You've made a mistake, you want to correct it, or put something else in. Of course, you can create a new item, and you can see the totals here. So this is just the start of the whole process, is the entry. So let me show you what happens with that and start a new one. You have a new one. And it doesn't have to be just about travel. It could be any expense report. Somehow I seem to be focusing on travel. And I thought to myself, why am I, every expense report I'm mocking up here about travel? It's probably because I haven't been anywhere for the last year. And so I'm imagining all these trips I could go on or used to go on. I don't know. I guess I could do something about buying a computer or going let's say trip to Las Vegas, because we used to go there for those North American conferences to Las Vegas. There's actually another one in January. Oh no, December. I don't know if we're going to sponsor that or not, but anyways, it's a Las Vegas collaboration summit or something by Microsoft. So let's call it collaboration summit. We'll pretend it happened last May. We can dream, we can pretend here, right? So we can have an expense item like let's say I flew there on Southwest. I flew there on Southwest in May, let's say in June, it's easier. June 22nd, I flew there, and the amount was $150. It's not that much from California. So it's air transportation. And then if I had a receipt, I could attach it right here. So I'm going to save it. And now it's a line item right here, Southwest flight, and it's adding up, right? And if I want to do another item, I stayed at the Desert Rose Resort, which is not far from the MGM Grand, where the show took place. That was, say that I got the receipt on the 23rd, and the amount was probably a lot of money there. Let's say $750 for several nights, and then lodging. You get the idea, right? Then you put in details, blah 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 blah, and then it starts to build up this expense report here, right? And you go on with meals and rent-a-cars and Ubers and how much you spend on gambling and all that. I probably can't include the gambling in the expense report, actually. Anyway, yes. So anyway, here we are. So now we have this added up, $900, and then you put a signature in, blah, 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 blah. And now, it's hard to do here, but if you're doing this on a mobile device, which you certainly can do, you can do with your finger, the signature. If you want to require that, you don't have to. And then you can submit. You can either save it, in which would mean to just save there, in the back, because you maybe have to go get some more information before you send it in, or you can submit for approval. Now, when you submit for approval, it's going to go to the manager, because we set it up so the manager is the person who's going to approve it. This happens to be Pavan in this case. So the manager is going to approve it. A manager is going to review it. We don't know if he's going to approve it. So we're going to submit for approval, and it's going to give notice. Now this screen here is our custom action running. You can hide this from the user if you like it. I put it up here just to show it going on, and it's going to notify the manager, and it's going to set status to pending. So if we look at this item back now, it says here trip to Las Vegas is pending approval. It's been submitted, it's a pending approval, and that's what we have going on there. So then if we go over to Pavan's email, which I believe is this one. One of these browsers buttons is his. Let's see, which one is his? Oh, it's this one. It's in this. Okay, where's Pavan? I'm going to find Pavan's email here in a moment. Here it is. Okay, here we are in Pavan's email. I'm going to drag it over. So I'm logged into this other incognito, because I can't be in both two different users at the same time, the same browser. This incognito one, or in private as they call it in Edge, with Pavan, right? Pavan is the manager. He got this. And here it says, look at the email he got. Kind of nice, huh? And this is the email template we set up to say, new expense reports from admin account, submit an expense report just 11/14, please approve or deny, title, business person. It has all this nicely listed like this, so the person can look and say, oh, that's interesting. Now he's got to make a decision, pop on, right? And it's like I say, it can be done on mobile. So you go here to trip to Las Vegas, he clicks that, and he's got the option to approve or deny it at that point. Same item we were looking at. He sees the signature, he sees the items listed here. He can look at each individual one, and then he can decide to approve or deny it. Now he's going to approve it, and when he approves it, these are our custom actions up here. If he approves it, it's going to go over to it's going to say it's approved and notify the requester, but also I don't have the workflow running, but it could have a workflow that sends it to finance, for example. Very easy to set up, just send that over. It could go to finance by email. I don't think you'd send to finance by text, but by email, or it could also go to a finance Teams channel. If you happen to be using Teams, you could have that. So let's approve it. Now, during the course of approving, he can add some comments in. Good to see you kept, good to see you, but glad you went, heard it went well, I don't know, it's whatever you want to put there, right? Okay, it doesn't really matter, it's just a demo. So then we notify that. Okay, let's go back here. That's Pavan out of the way, move on over Pavan. And we're gonna close that email. And we're gonna look now at this one right here. It's been approved. Glad you went, heard it went well, all this right here. And if we open it up, now it's gonna say at the top, this little gray box says approved, manager comments, date of decision was today. And it's all ready to go to finance, right? There you go, right? So that's what's going on, but there's a lot more to that. That's kind of, I want to show you, walk you through the basic process there of what's doing, all done by NITRO Studio, between the form, the custom actions, the various fields we have. So let's look at this form now that's going on behind the scenes. So if I went to here and I went to forms, I would get to the same screen I'm looking at right here. Or I can be in the form, in the field itself, and just click NITRO Forms. That gets me up to the same place. So, but here's the place I'm talking about going, which is designer of the expense report form. And this designer has a lot of capabilities and gives you enormous level of flexibility to build whatever you want in terms of SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019, or Office 365, and also with some degree within Teams as far as what cards get posted and things like that. So the Forms Designer also has, I want to point out, and this was something people have been asking about, is in mobile. So we have this preview option where you can come in and look at it in different, here's a desktop, here's a tablet, and here's a mobile. So you can be designing it for the mobile device as you work inside our designer and see how it looks. You also can do like put in certain groups, and then it'll show you what fields show up for what groups. If you have permissioning set up on certain fields, you can do that. And then you have different views, maybe different fields show up or different sections depending on who the user is. So here we go with the form looking in mobile. So it's pretty cool. This is just a preview, so I'm just going to get out of that. So here's everything listed here. So here, let me show you what's going on. This is done by sections, so we kind of go either sections or tabs. Tabs would show it differently. We could do tabs, how things show up, as far as how the sections are displayed, how the labels are, what buttons show up. Very, very flexible in that. But a lot of the activities right here in the forms controls. The forms controls give you the ability to like add a title up. I'm going to cancel it. Add a title up here. Okay, I guess I apply and continue. Add a title up here. They allow you to drag over any of the columns into wherever you want to put it here. If you wanted, some reason wanted an ID up here, you just could drag it over, put it there. Wherever you want to put it, you just put it in there. You can put these just about any place you want. And now each section can have different ways of laying out the information. So this one has 2 columns, this one has 1 column, this one has the title up on top or the description up on top. This one has gray color behind it, this one doesn't. This one shows up for managers but doesn't show up for anyone else. These are all set up in like how you want to do each different section. Section titles 1 with 2 columns, so there's 2 buttons, and the horizontal position, here we go. So you got these you have this 2 column with the 2 buttons sitting in there. So I dragged over from our actions menu here 2 custom buttons that went right in here. And that gave us this view at the top of approve or deny that shows up only when the manager, it's show to manager, hide from everyone else. So that's a permission that's set up. Only the manager will see these 2 buttons. Everybody else will just see nothing there. There won't be anything. The approval status section is set up similarly, that it only shows after it's hidden until there's a decision, then it's shown. This is the section right here. That's this gray part about status, decision, and manager comments, right? So you're able to manipulate the form to show exactly what you need to show to the people you need to show it at the time that they need to see it. And that's really a very powerful part of it, so that as we go through this, when you create the new one, you don't see the approve and deny buttons. You don't see the approval status things. So you don't see the approval status section either. You only see this part, because the permissions on the approval deny section are sets that only show the manager. It have to be actually that person logged in that's going to see it. And the approval status only shows up when the approval is decision has been made, set to either approved or denied, then it's going to show up. And you see that if I cancel this and move over to one that's been approved, it will show up with that approval status section at the top, telling you the details of what went on when it was approved and all that. Now, of course, all this is very flexible. If you want to change any of these fields, what goes in each area, this is all up to you. And what we find is, as we work with our customers, everybody's different, but they really, really enjoy the flexibility of being able to create different kinds of workflows, or different kinds of forms, different kinds of fields that depend on certain criteria or whatever functionality they need in the form itself. That's a lot of flexibility. This is very basic. I mean, what we're doing here, I'm showing you, is pretty basic NITRO stuff. It's a lot more you can do with our NITRO Studio. I just want to show you that. So if one's pending approval, I don't see the approved deny because I'm not the manager. But if I go over here to Pavan, he will see that. Pavan will see that if I close this one. And I go to the same one called Seattle conference, and open it up. He's the manager. He gets the approve and deny buttons right there. See, I didn't, because when I was logged in as admin account, as the requester, logged in as the manager, I see that, right? So just wanted to show you that you can. We can also hide fields. We can show and hide fields according to what is necessary, as far as for people to see. Say you only want certain people to see comments, you can come in here and set the permissions on this field to be whatever you want. You can be show, hide, read only. So any field that's sensitive, like a social security number or an account number or something like that, can be set to only show to certain people. There's 2 things you can do: show to certain people, everyone, or only certain people, in certain groups, or certain or in certain columns on the field itself. You have very, very tight control over all your fields and what shows. It's not only fields, but also sections and also tabs and other parts of the form. You can permission it very tightly, and also under certain conditions. So it may be you want to show it to everyone, but only when certain conditions are met. That's how I set up this approval status right here. Is it's set up to be, let's see, configure, is it's configured to only show after a decision's made, when the approval status either it could be any, equal to, approved, or denied. It shows for everyone, but only if the status is approved or denied. Now you can do other things like make it read only and other type capabilities like that. So you can be very tight, very, very tight with your permissioning here. Now, as far as the UI goes of this, we can come in here and change the UI to different colors if we want. You like blue, we'll change it to blue, right? So we just apply that, now it's blue. You could do things like that if you like. And then all you have to do is publish it. And if you want to preview it first, you can. And here you go, preview it or publish it, you know, and then it's going to show up and look the apply. Well, that should have taken, maybe I didn't apply it. Anyway, if I publish it, it should come out in the blue there on the system itself. So here we go. Let's close this. You can do a lot with the what the forms look like. As far as colors and shades, now it's blue up there instead of gray. So it's a lot of interesting things like that you can do with it. If you know, close that. So we go here, trip to Las Vegas, been approved. San Diego, SharePoint Saturday. So let me show you a little bit on this one. This one is no, I want to go to the Sacramento one, sorry, the Sacramento one, Sacramento meetup. The Sacramento meetup is, you see, you can add, this is an actual event I went to actually. So it was, we met up with some people in Sacramento, and there was an event. So there was a receipt for it, right? Here's a receipt, you know, attached to it, right? So the receipt is for, you know, you can add receipts here. You can add receipts here, or you can add it in the expense items itself. Depends what you want it is. It's very flexible. You want the receipt attached to each particular expense item, or do you want the receipt attached to the whole expense report? Again, the concept here basically is that there's a wrapper, a report where all the metadata, you might call it, about the report, and then there's individual expense items that that are, you know, detailed in more detail. Detailed in more detail. That's a good one. So this expense report, you can do a lot with this, but I wanted to dig in a little deeper on this and show you more about the expense items and have some fun with that. Oh, okay. Let me go back here. I'm going to show you expense items, but I want to show you something else first, because that rock just alerted me to there's other ways to show this. So here you go. See this with the rock, kind of Zen looking rock here. So now it's a little just different way to show. Now I'm showing my expense reports. And the reason I was showing this is that this kind of view is sort of like, I don't know, sort of blah in a way. It's like, okay, but it's just kind of a list. This one has a little more punch to it, I think. So all I did is create a page. It's called the reports page, expense reports ASPX. You just go here, add a page and start, you know, doctoring it up. And that page has an image at the top, and it has our list view on it. So now we're saying for the end user, my expense reports looks a little nicer to the person. Look here, you can see which ones are approved or the status of these, and they can create a new one. And then if I wanted to make this the home page, I would just go to pages. I would go to expense reports and simply go here, make this the home page. Make home page right there. I will do that in a second. Here's what the home page looks like now. To me, it's kind of messy, and if I came here to expense reports and saw that, I'd be like, okay, what do I do? So what I wanted to do is go over to that page. I want to go to that page and make it a home page. Now I'm making that the home page now. So if I go over here, that should be what shows up. See how I switched the home page quite easily for the site? I created a new page, made it nicer looking, and now switched it over so that the home is not that messy looking thing with news and what activity and all that stuff, but it's now very focused on what the purpose of this application is, which is this site, which is expense reports. And it's also geared to be my expense reports. That's the view we're showing. The person creates a new one, you can see it here. Of course, you could have other views here like manager reports or departmental reports, or you know, it depends what view you want the person to see. So here we have it just, you know, from the end user perspective, let's say, right? Just like a portal. And with this, you can edit this page and add a lot of other web parts if you want. If you want a report or status or information or whatever, you just edit the page and start adding more web parts to it. It is in the modern UI. You come in here and just add add more, web parts that do various functionality. I won't go too deep into that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. And a lot you can do to make it really nice looking, because I did want to go back to what I said about expense reports, expense items, sorry. So let's go back and look at expense items and consider some things. Yes, I want to leave that page. I want to go here. I want to consider some stuff here that you as, if you're interested in expense reimbursements, might want to think about. And this is where you could implement it yourself. We could have a conversation. It really depends on how you want the expense items to work. Right now, simply there's a title, a date, an amount, a category, and some details. This is a choice list, a choice field inside of SharePoint, the SharePoint list, and that's all there is to it. But what I did, there's another form I created just to show you more possibilities that could be done in expense items. To show what's going on. So expense items are all listed here. Let me go over to the expense item form, the alternative one. I want to copy that and put that into a URL here and show you what else can be done with the expense items, okay? So when someone clicks new item, right now the one I just showed you, expense items, comes up right here. If I go here and I click this one comes up. But as I thought about this, I said, that is a little bit limited, and people may want to track more information about every expense item. And I have to, since I'm doing this webinar, I have to show you guys what else can be done. And so here's some of the ideas I came up with as I thought about this is, okay, maybe instead of just saying, very general information about a category, let's get more specific. So I could say, of course, this would be tied to an expense report, but if I was going to go, let's again say, flights or something. I don't know. So we go here and it's airline, and now we're going to say it's Southwest. So now we've got this drop list and this drop list. Again, this has got to be put in June 20th, I guess, 22nd, whatever. And then the amount. The amount is 350 or something. So yeah, I don't know why it's saying enter date for this report. I'd have to go look at that. But the point here is that now you have cascading lookup going on. If you do car rental, it could be AVID. If you go to lodging, it's then Airbnb or something. If you go to meals, it's, could be a restaurant or something like that. So this is starting to give a person a lot more information about how the money's being spent in the organization. And then when you do that, you can then work some management reports in our system, and the management reports can tell you how much was spent for these kind of different categories. How much was spent on lodging, and what lodging was it spent on? How much was spent by per vendor? Chicago Transit, Hilton. So you start to get management reports out of this that are useful if you want to track expense items to that level and know what the expenditures are. If you just simply want a system that approves it and doesn't worry too much about that and leave all that to finance, then that's okay too, because they'll code it that way. But this does give you, I want to show you that our NITRO Studio is able to provide a comprehensive, full-fledged application depending on what level you want to go, whether it's simple or complex or any range in between. We can start to build in more and more capabilities to do analytics on top of your system. So you're doing expense items, you're not just having a list there, which is okay for a simple application, but later you might want to know how much has our department spent on hotels in the last month or something, or how much has the whole business spent on airfare or something, and things like that. And then you can drill down into what they actually is. Some of these reports you can do that. I don't know if I have it in this one. Yeah, what was that $300 spent on? And then I don't know. I just put this together yesterday. I didn't get all the drill downs right, but sometimes you can drill down and find out exactly what that expenditure was about. Not only that, you can filter it in real time and say, I only want to filter this report data based on like say last month or yesterday, or a custom date range. And then you can also do more advanced filtering if you want, based on certain conditions, and say, show me only ones where John, where Scott's the requester or something like that, or where it's involved in Las Vegas. So, just to show you that you can go further and further and further into analysis of how expenses were done if you wanted to go in that direction. And of course, this applies to other financial programs that we can do, like purchasing, or even procurement, purchasing, those kind of things, asset tracking. So it really shows that there's a lot of capabilities inside of NITRO Studio to build the kind of reporting and analytics you want to put into place with this. I actually like that home of the with the rock there better. Yeah, this seems more appealing. People like good visuals in an application. They don't want these kind of like spreadsheet looking things. So here we go with this. I showed that the approval process, the expense items, how we can do expense items in different ways, the reporting, a couple of more things I'll show you. Let's go back to this form here that I was showing you, the expense alt form. I did this as an alt form so if I wanted to make this the default form that comes up when you press new item in the expense report, I could, and then you'd have this more functionality going on here than the other one. So you have your choice as to what forms you want to use and how you want it to look. Here's expense items again, the more sophisticated one, let's call it. And you can see that it has more features on it. I said the cascade lookup. Also, one other thing I want to show is it has this area that shows up only when it's lodging right here, see? So then you have check in, check out. And not only that, if you put in the dates, the 19th to the 21st, it will calculate the number of nights automatically. I mean, that's pretty cool, actually. So you say, okay, if it's a lodging expense, and it doesn't matter which one, let's say Hilton, it's going to, you're able to put in what day you check in, what day you check out, and how many nights, and then that can be more closely tied to, does it make sense, the kind of price or the amount that the person's putting in there, right? So very accurate. You can be very granular and very accurate about tracking your expenses. It really depends where you want to go with it, right? And we give you that high level of flexibility and build a lot of sophistication into the form based on what your needs are. If you want to have lodging or even airfare, could be date, date of departure, date of arrival, date you left, date you came back, basically. And you don't need number of nights on that, but you would know like at least the start and end. And this could be used for the receipt date. So this kind of thing, I'm talking with James and others, like, how exactly would a company put this together? Well, it depends on what your needs are. In NITRO Studio, our program has all the capabilities to do that. This is simply the form right here that we were just looking at, the expense alt form, and it has these calculations going on. It has these, this section right here called the check-in, check-out section shows up when it's permissioned here, so that it shows up when the category is lodging right here, right? The category is lodging. It shows up. And then I think I would make it a little different color too, maybe yellowish or something. So, just so it stands out a little more, lemon yellow, like that. And so when it shows up, people know they have to fill it in. If you want, you can do that, up to you. Then it shows up like that so that you can see if it's lodging, it's going to have this yellow section now. And it's pretty cool. I mean, to me, it's pretty cool stuff. And really the focus is coolness is good, but it's also coolness, how it affects the user's behavior so that they are given an easy way to enter it in and makes it kind of streamlined for them instead of like this kind of difficult to fill in kind of form, right? So if they said I came in July 1st and I left on July 7th, it's going to give me 6 nights, like that, right? For that particular lodging. And you can make whatever you want, required or not required, it's up to you. An amount. So all the information's there. It's just, how you want to put it together to make your system work. Because what we're talking about here is, Crow Canyon has 2 approaches to the way things, business process works. And one is it says it right here, build your own solutions. What you have to do is, of course, get a hold of our NITRO Studio, and we can talk about pricing for that. I know that's going to be a question that comes up. So, we'll talk to you individually. We don't like to shout it out in the middle of a webinar because everybody is different as far as, if there's education or government discounts or certain processes, certain preset software lists that we're on, such as State of California or the GSA, or whether you're in GCC or GCC high, all kinds of different parameters that affect the pricing, but it's very reasonable. We call it the practical, way lower than something like Nintex. But of course, it's not free, but it's that's one way to go. NITRO Studio, build your own. A lot of people jump right in it and they start building and they amaze us what they build. It's actually, what? You did that with it? And we're like, oh, that's great. And other people, and people do both, actually. It's not one or the other. They do both. Sometimes they go with our ready-to-go applications. And that means that there's a purchasing program or a help desk or a asset management program ready to go that we have ready to go right here already. And if people want to get more sophisticated with it, we'll work with them to implement our bots for teams. I've done some webinars on that. I can show you. You can look at those. And we're going to do another one, I think, in a couple of months in September. But anytime somebody wants to see what our bots do, that's great. They work really well for something like leave requests, where it's a simple approval process. A person gets the bot engages with the user. The bot sends the approval to the manager. The manager approves it in Teams, then the bot in Teams, and comes back, and it all works very seamlessly. Expense is a little more complicated because you have all these expense items to deal with, and you want to be able to enter those. And that's better done in a SharePoint form than in a bot, when you have to enter in multiple items associated with one report, right? But there could be uses for it in expenses too. So that's what we do. So there are to build your own or preset applications, or both. Both go that way. With the expense items we're showing, the Summer Breeze series we're doing this summer, we're showing the abilities of NITRO Studio to build your own how you want once you dig into all this capabilities inside of the forms and the workflows and the custom actions. So there's a little context of what we're doing here, but I'll go a little bit more into this and show you other things going on here that are quite interesting. Here, whether you're in this view or the other back-end view, you can come in and you can print this print manager. This is Crocanyon's NITRO Studio's print manager, and you can make a printout of this that has a very nice looking format, and you can change this any way you want inside of our print manager to devise how you want this expense report to print. And if you go into our print manager, it's right here in our NITRO Studio, under print manager, you can see that in the list called expense reports, there is expense report template. And this expense report template is just what you saw right there. This is how the back end. Now you can make this really, really fancy. You can put in HTML and have it all, some people have put in a whole HTML packet in here, and then the printout looks exactly like, very, very much how they want it to look, exactly according to the HTML. And we put in tables, you can put in images, you can make these things bold. It's all things you can do with this printout to make it really, pop, I guess. Very easy to change that. And you can have multiple templates on one list, how different templates you want to go in here. Here, see, now those are bolded and they weren't before. And then if you wanted with this print manager, you can export it to PDF, you can send it by email, you can export the image, you can print it. So a lot you can do if you have to get these out by paper, and what we do, we work with our customers quite a lot to say, well, because they have certain standards, certain ways the printout has to look exactly, and then we can work with you through the HTML and through the various components I just showed you. You can see that the print manager has quite a number of capabilities there in the rich text formatting and the fields and everything. I won't dig into it too much here because it does get pretty involved. You can set the header, you set the footer, you set other advanced features of how the PDF. So we made the print capabilities very, very capable to match what's required in certain circumstances like government or other regulatory situations where it has to be printed out in the exact format. So that's I want to point that out. With that, another thing that I want to point out before we go is our custom actions. So if I go over back to our form designer, you can see that here's approve, for example, and approve has a custom action related to it. So this approve button will run this custom action right here. This approve button right here has been set up, been added in. I went to the custom action button here, dragged it over, another one for the deny. We added in the title, the caption of it, how big it is, where it's aligned inside the space up here, whether it has an image or not. And this image is a thumbs up image. This one has a thumbs down image. And then what custom action will happen when that button is clicked. We also styled the button too. We have a button styling capability where you can come in and modify the button style. And I made this one with a radius of 12 points, 12 pixels, so that it would be more rounded, but you can do a lot of other things with it too. So you can really design the form to look really, really nice for the end users in many, many subtle little ways that are quite nice. And that's only so far I can go into it in a demo like this, but I do want to go into the custom actions since that's what the button does. Isn't that what's important, what the button does? So here's what does the button do? Well, we have custom actions. And the custom actions are that when you hit the approve, that's the approve custom actions associated with that button. Of course, deny is associated with the deny button, and submit expense report is associated with the submit expense report button. All these do different functionality. So let's look at approve right now. And what approve does is this is just setting up where it shows up and other areas about it. But right here, these are what's most important is what action is going to execute. This is really critical because what you're doing here is you're taking a business process and automating it by the push of a button. So a push of a button by the user, such as approve or submit or whatever, can kick off a large number of actions depending on what you need done. This is what automation is all about. Click of a button, all this stuff happens. Well, in this case, it's approving the leave request. It approves it's called an update action, update list item action. And what it will do is it'll have two things going on. It asks for manager comments and also presets these values of status and date automatically when it's approved. That's what the update action does. The notify requester action comes in and sends an email out to the requester, because you can send it to other people, send it to whomever you want. And what is sent to the end user is determined in our mail template. So you come to the mail template and set it up. We're giving you total control over your messaging, what it looks like, what the UI. We found, there's certain like easy path and simple path. I don't sound that complicated. It's not, but if you want to go beyond that and get really more sophisticated, you can. And people do all kinds of really interesting things with it. For this one, we're doing a notify requester on approval, and we're saying, again, the same kind of like template format where you can do all these different changes to it, put hyperlinks, images, all that. This fairly simple one. It just says your expense report's been approved, blah, 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 manager comment, and all that goes out to the end user, as you can see actually right here. Your expense report's been approved. Trip to Las Vegas, manager, glad you went, heard it went well, right there, right? So that's what got sent out from that mail template. Now, the other thing you could do inside of that custom action, cancel this, you could notify the requester by SMS text. If you have a cell phone number, you send an SMS text to that person saying we approved it. That's another way to do it. And while we're in this list of actions, you can see there's many other things that could happen. They're not necessary when an item's approved, but in other processes, it might be. I might want to escalate it. Maybe the approver hasn't acted in a certain amount of time, so we want to, take action and that kind of thing. So anyways, we can update the item, we can upload a doc, generate a document, send mail, send text, execute scripts, invoke web services, invoke workflows, query the list, invoke custom actions, launch URLs, invoke Azure function. I mean, there's a lot of capability here, and when you really start to dig into this, it's more like what can we do? What can we not do? When you start to involve web services, invoke other workflows, custom actions, launch URLs, Azure functions. It's really, and also this integration with Teams if you're on Office 365. It really comes down to more of a question, what can't we do, and it's not I don't know, there are of course some things we can't, but the amount we can do in terms of software and integrating with other systems is really widespread. I mean, if you need to integrate with outside systems outside of SharePoint, you certainly can do that. You also can pull data in to here also. So the custom actions, very, very powerful, along with our works in conjunction along with our workflows, which is similar to custom actions, except workflows run behind the scenes. The workflows, really, custom actions are workflows. It's the only difference is custom actions are initiated by someone pushing a button, and that initiates it. Workflows happen behind the scenes in sense of like when items created, or when a certain time has passed, such as the due date, or it has not been modified for X amount of time, or it's no one's responded to it. So it helps. Workflows are very powerful in that regard, and then you can take a lot of actions. It really depends what you want to do. I mean, expense reimbursements, I think at the end of when it's approved, you might want to have a workflow that sends out to a financial system. Whether you could send a simple email to finance with all the details, that could work, or you could actually do an integration where you write to a certain database over there, if that's allowed, a write action to a database to generate, whatever. So that is a range of possibilities that can be either very simple with NITRO Studio or more involved. And this does not apply just to expense reports. It applies to any kind of business process you want to put in place. We really can do automate just about any process in there. We use it internally, in fact, in Crocan software for many, many different purposes. We build and tweak our systems quite a bit as we go along, and that's really helped our business grow and become much more streamlined. But not only our business, we see this happening at many, many organizations around the world also. Now, I wanted to leave a little time for questions. James, any questions? I mean, I could go on more and more because there's so much going on inside of NITRO Studio. And
yeah, I mean, we have like a full-fledged like 8-hour training course that you can go through to understand all the aspects of Nitro. There's quite a lot there, and we'll this part of what the services we offer is to get you trained up on all this stuff. So you're not just left trying to figure it out. We'll walk you through how to do all this stuff.
Right, and people have done some really great things with it, right, James? I mean, you're right in the heart of
yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, there's it's like setting up new vendor workflows. There's contract workflows. There's the notifications alone really help a lot of people with tracking when things are due or becoming overdue or about to expire. I mean, it's really quite incredible. Like you said, we use it internally. Like today, I was just building out a portal through NITRO for some internal users. So it's quite a lot there in the NITRO Studio tool. So it's a lot of fun, and you can see got that expense report that we're building here in this call, and you see how fairly easy it is. I mean, when did you start this? A couple days ago, and it's almost like full-fledged system ready to go. And sure, you can keep tweaking it, make little adjustments here and there, but I mean, full-fledged application in a couple of days. I mean, are you kidding me? That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, and the UI looks really, it's good. I hope people will appreciate, and see this as a we call it the practical alternative. We don't have anywhere near the pricing of the Nintex K2 world, which are really aiming for the large enterprise, robotics process automation and all that stuff. And there's a real need for this kind of program out there to make Office 365 powerful. And I wish I could show the bots, but that's really a whole nother webinar. I mean, I kind of like that's where we're going with the bots and Teams integration. But this one I focus on more on the what you can do inside of SharePoint.
As far as
Office 365,
exactly. And as far as questions, we did have a question about how do we handle like sensitive information. I think you showed the column permission piece of the NITRO form tool, but it's basically like if someone's entering SSN or some kind of personal data, how do we manage that? And I think the answer there is that we could use the NITRO form permissions to hide that field from anyone but the person who filled it out, and you know,
Yeah.
limited number of users who would need to see it beyond that. So we can do that through permissions on the form itself, and we can also do that on the item level permissions through the workflow tool we have. We can automatically set permissions so that only the creator and a limited number of individuals could even see that form that was submitted. Even if they're looking at a SharePoint list, they wouldn't see any record of that form because they don't have access to it.
That's right. That's right. The permissioning, and in fact, one of our workflow actions is manage permissions. So when it, when it's created, the item can be permissioned right then and there. The item. Well, I always figure there's the site permissions, the list permissions, the item permissions, and then there's the individual section permissions, the column permission. We even have now this section where you can do column permissions all at once, like a whole group of columns. Instead of having to do each one individually, you can do a group of them. And same with the validations right here. Now it's a no-code, low-code solution. So what we mean by no-code is you don't need to have any code, but if you did want to jump in and inject some JavaScript here and there, custom CSS, we give you the capability to do it. And there's various places where it could maybe make sense to do that, such as you might want a script action that can, these buttons can be put anywhere, and you want to do something like, I don't know, right here and have a script run that's gonna, don't scare people away with coding, but there is a capability here, and our team really knows what codes work, what script codes work, and what, we have a whole page, and we're working on expanding that catalog of available JavaScript code. And as much as we can put into a UI that makes it easy, we do for that. And then we keep upgrading NITRO Studio, keep improving it, and we keep all up with the Microsoft changes and what they're doing. And what that, those guys are up to. We're very much in touch with them. So that's basically it for this webinar, I think. Hopefully we'll hear from people who are interested in pursuing this more. I, kind of been kind of chill in this webinar. I didn't want to put a whole bunch of, explanation of NITRO Studio and all. I just want to show it. Summer breeze, kind of chill time, right? A little, everybody's kind of taking a breather. But, if you are looking to automate or get off InfoPath forms or Access forms or Lotus Notes, I really got to say, we're the go-to people for that, in Office 365 or SharePoint. We have a lot of experience, a lot of customers, and, it's what we do, literally night and day. It's not even like a joke. It's literally night and day because, customers all over the world. And it's our business. So, all right, I appreciate everyone joining, and I'm really glad you took the time out today. And we'll send a recording of this available, and we'll go from there, right? Oh, wait a minute, James, some questions came in? You there, James?
Yeah, sorry, there was just a question about the adding a field to the header of a print manager. I was just saying, I don't think that's currently possible, but I'm going to check with our team if that's something we can add to the header
And a
field
field
on
up here?
yeah, on the, exactly.
Yeah, well, I do that a lot with the expense report itself, where I'll put up here something where it'll say, there'll be like, there's a way to put the ID of it up there, for example, what the ID is, I don't have it with me right now, but you can put like expense report, what the approval status is, and so that's in the form itself. But as far as the header, it's a good, that's good. We always get good feedback, so that's something we could try and do, see if we can do it. There's some way you put that in. Yeah, I know I have it in the other system, the leave request system.
Yeah, I know in the inline HTML control on the form, you can put the internal name in brackets, square brackets, put it at the top. I just don't think that, I will have to check to see if that's supported for the print manager.
Yeah. If I go over to our leave request we did last month, I had that going up there in our leave request system where you could have that ID when you go to, where is it? One of these, I don't know. I had it up there, and anyways, it's doable. We've done that a number of times. We had the leave request, and you have the number at the top, which leave request number it is. Anyway, a little bit put on the spot. I wasn't ready to show that, but that is something it is possible to do for sure.
On the form level, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
well,
we see that all the time.
sure.
I did have one of these. I was going to do it for expense reports, so I said, well, yeah, this is a little different. Anyway, all right, I won't belabor that point. Any other
Yeah, I
questions?
mean, it would no, but I was just thinking if for that dynamic kind of information, we do have it in the template itself, so you could put it towards the top of the template. But
Yeah, you could.
anyway, well, yeah, we'll dig into that one and get an answer directly for that question.
Yeah, you could put it right at the top, right up here. It's true. And it would be, essentially in the header. It's a good thing. Why not have fields in here, right? There's no placeholders, but anyways, whatever. Okay. Anything else? First questions there,
No,
Jim?
I think that was it.
All right, good. Well, we hope to hear from people, and we're glad to continue this discussion. If you want to talk about pricing, let's shoot me an email, shoot us an email. sales@crocan.com is probably the easiest one, and we'll begin that discussion. Or if you want a demo one-on-one of anything I've talked about, or of our Teams integration or bots, we'll do that, and we'll keep it going. And here we are. And thanks for joining. It's appreciate everybody taking the time, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Uh, have a good Oh, I should mention the one thing that there's another one of these. There's one coming up at the end of was it August? August. Sorry to keep people for a moment, but I do want to show you that webinars. Next Summer Breathe one is October 26th. There's one on project and task management system, and we'll be doing a lot. There's a lot of webinars, and James does workshops every month. So just keep in touch with us. Check our website out, and everybody have a good day. Thank you very much for attending. Okay, bye bye. Right on time too. It's good. Okay, bye.
Great job.
Thanks.